So at the start of second semester, we're going to be looking at conceptual photography, and we're going to build on the skills that we learned from first semester. First semester was all about technical skills. Now we're going to use those technical skills to start to build some concept. So as a bridge between second semester and first semester, I like to implement this project called Photo Replica. And what you're going to do with this project is you're going to find a photograph and you're going to deconstruct it backwards and you're going to replicate the exact photograph. So this is not like original photography, but what it's teaching you is to backwards think about how the photograph was created, how this photographer set up the composition, set up the lighting, set the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, and then you're going to be able to prove your skills in photography by recreating a photograph. So the whole impetus for this project was because in social media I came across a fun John Malkovich project that he did where he recreated famous photographs and used himself as the model. So this was a lot of fun, but for this project, and you can think about it, you do not need to use like projects or photographs that have humans in it. You're allowed to use still lives or landscape or anything that you can think of. But I do want to tell you the photograph that you find, if you look for something that's more black and white, it's going to be a little bit easier to match a black and white photo than it is to find a color photo, because getting the exact colors is very challenging. So when we look through this set of John Malkovich photographs, we're going to also start to pay attention to, as you start your composition, what elements you need to add in it. So let's look at this one. This one is a famous Dorothy Lange photograph from the Great Depression. And this is the original, and then this is the John Malkovich version. So as you can see, he was able to use a short depth of field right here to blur out some of that background. And you can tell that this is inside of a tent. So he looks like he uses some kind of tent material. You can also see in the foreground, there is looks like a tree branch or a limb right here, and it's out of focus. There's 4 models in the picture, and tried to find some of the same type of material for the models to wear in the same haircut. Notice the only difference I could say here is there's a lot more of a harsher shadow right here, whereas here you can see a little bit more light. But all in all, this is a really good composition. Even the way the blouse is visible right here and it's opened in the same manner. You can see this side is a little bit more squished where there is more visible space right here. So that is one part of the composition that is slightly off. But for the most part, this is on. Even the way, the location of the eyes and the hair and everything. Next one is a photograph of Salvador Dali. This is the original, and this is the John Malkovich version. So notice how there is a glint of light right here. So the direction of the light should be coming from the top left. It is a little bit more harsh here, the shadow. You can see there's a lot more darkness right here, whereas over here there's a little bit more lightness. But he does a really good job of trying to recreate the eyebrow, hair, and the mustache, and the position. You can see the hairline right here is cut off a little bit more on this one rather than this one. And also the other difference is this collar. So a few little things, and you know, you could do this in post edit right there. You could have edited that out. But it's a challenging work. And also his expression, you can see he moved his brow a little bit more, whereas in this picture, he's only moving his eye. This is a famous Alfred Hitchcock image. He's a famous director. I really like that he plays both roles and both genders. This is a famous Andy Warhol photograph. You can see that this was used with a flash. This is a famous Diane Arbus photograph. Notice he got the perspective correct. The photographer is looking down and it's slightly, the perspective is slightly off to kind of shorten the legs, and the photographer is in the same thing here with the John Malkovich. And you can see that John Malkovich is trying to do the lips in the same way. Got the same hair, same dress, and even look at the ground here, we have the brick on the ground. This is a famous Ernest Hemingway photograph. This is Pablo Picasso. And one big difference you can see here, that the background is gray, but in his background up here, it appears to be darker. So he would have probably, to get this more perfect, to added some light to the background right here to illuminate that part. And also you can see there's a lot more darkness up in the hat here. So just needed a little bit more light up top. Other than that, it's pretty close. This is pretty close too. You can just see the head position needed to change slightly, but pretty good. You can even see that he messed with the ISO, or the film grain quality. Look how grainy this picture is, and look how grainy this picture is. So he was trying to match the film grain. So that's something you're going to be paying attention to, because you could do this with ISO, or you can even add a filter to it at the end if you needed to add some film grain to your picture to match it. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to research famous photographs of all different kinds of photographers, and you can go to a website called Masters of Photographers to look up famous photographs that you think you can replicate. Do some research, and you can find at least 2 images, and we'll discuss whether or not you're going to be able to do that. Think of things that are doable for you. So what's been doable for kids in the past? I'm going to show you some examples of student work from previous years. Okay, here's one example. There's, you can see there's some issues with positioning. She should have been more left in the frame, but pretty close. Found very similar objects to work with, similar lighting, and she even went out and purchased this hat. Here's another one done by a student. And another. This would have been really good if she had added some more makeup to her face here, but she did the lighting really nicely in the background. And also, I think it could have been cropped just a little bit to be more exact on this one. So just remember, these images do not have to be of people. You can do objects or still lifes or anything like that. So go ahead and start researching and finding pictures that you would like.